I couldn't get a signal up in the house, so I've come in here. As you can see, fringe is long. Now, I'm not telling you how to cut your fringe from scratch or do it every time, because you can get away with trimming it just a few times and then it really needs a professional hand. What I'm showing you today is how I do mine. So, I've washed my hair. If you're cutting your hair when it needs a wash, it sits flat to your head. So if you're trying to trim your own fringe and your hair's already sitting flat to your head, it's going to be too short. So always do it on clean hair, so it's got a little bit of bounce to it. I then dry my hair. This was cut by a professional. One of the best hairdressers in the country did this one. So I dry it off, and that is the best way to find where your fringe is. You see that bit there? Goes over here. You can blast it with a hairdryer. I won't do, because it will send the sound crazy. That bit goes back there a bit. Right. On your hair, you've got your hairline. They call it the recession line. You never cut any further back than this line here. You always do it in an apple pie shape. So the sections are like that. But never back into here, because that's not your fringe, that's the side of your hair. So you bring it down, you get your fringe out the way, and you clip these bits out the way. Flick it all forward, blast it with a dryer, do what you have to get it right out the way. Right then, I can't remember how many weeks it was since I had this done. And you know, that always reminded me, if I was doing somebody's hair and they were on holiday and they used to say, it's been 6 weeks since my last haircut. It reminded me of when I was a kid and had to go to confession. Father, forgive me if I have sinned. It's 6 weeks since my last haircut. Anyway, that's my hair. Now it's going to get really attractive because I'm going to soak it. Now I found it, I'm going to wet it. That looks really glamorous, doesn't it? A little bit more, probably. Yep. Okay, glasses off. When you bring your fringe down, you always think it needs more off because it's heavy. If you think about it, your first 2 weeks, your hair feels short. The next 2 weeks, it feels just right. And 2 weeks after then, it feels too long. So all you need to do is take a tiny bit off from those 2 weeks. Now, if you are really desperate and you do want a tiny bit of a fringe, just section a tiny little bit in front of your hair. This is where I'm on about the razor. Get the rest out the way. I've got another clip. Yeah. Ow. I'm not over keen on these because they've got the blue strip on them, and that's rubber. It's makes it glide or something. I don't know. So anyway, what we use, what I used to use, was one of these. It's like a little cutthroat razor. It's got a little guard on it, like a comb. But I'll try and use the razor for you. I taught my niece to do this. She loved it. She got her own fringe. So you'll bring it down past the bridge of your nose. And you'll make sure it's past because you can always take a bit more on. We don't have a putting on pair of scissors or a putting on razor. There is only a taking off one. So straight in, look, just at the very ends. if you want it more of a feathery look, and just literally tiny little bits at a time. And then I can't do it really on that bit because I need I need a bit more than razoring. But I'll have a go in here for you. Don't watch Nikki. You can hear it. And you can see just tiny, tiny little bits coming out. That's enough. You don't want to go in there and really hack it. You see, when we use these, which way around is it? It's very gentle. It's not straight in like that. It's just very gentle. So you can hear tiny little bits coming off. Yep, now that's quite brave on your own. So I can't see what I'm doing. So anyway, trimming. Need a bit more water. What you need is, as I said, down to the bridge of your nose. Now I've got a widow's peak in mine. So are you cutting? Yeah, I'm cutting. Yeah, and my hand needs cut. It was my profession, Hannah. You can tell a hairdresser, they always hold their scissors with the fourth finger. Keep in mind this might be back to front. Yeah, that's my right hand. So you take your hair down to the bridge of your nose and you put your fingers right in there. And you try and get your fingers parallel to the floor. Now I can see my little finger. If you take it down and you do it like that, you are in effect layering your hair, and it is going to be too much off because the underneath is going to be the longest bit, and then this bit is going to be too short. So let's dry it off again. I've got really fine hair. Bring it down. Get your fingers parallel to the floor. My handshake, I've got a trapped nerve in my neck. Right. Crikey, it's more off than I expected. Then take it away so you can look in the mirror and you can just see the tips. You haven't moved your fingers, you haven't pulled on your hair. And then embroidery scissors might be quite good because they're tiny. Just remove the rest of your fingers out of the way and just tiny little niblets. Now, if you're not brave enough to do a straight line, bring it down again, bridge of the nose, and now it goes from the bridge and it sort of comes up very slightly. It's a very, very soft arc. Not as much as the wedding ring quilt, a lot softer. So, bring it down. You can see where you've already gone. Right to the ends. Now you can balance your scissors on your finger and just tiny, tiny slips. Don't rush it, don't push it, because if you do, you might snip your finger. See, I haven't gone right to my finger. It's just tiny slips. And if you go in like that, if you get one side shorter than the other, it's not gonna notice. So we're going back to the other side. Tiny, tiny little snips. Oh, I've got to go in that way. And then, no, I've done it. Can't see it. Have a check. Now, if it looks too long, that's a good thing because it's wet. And when this dries, this is the underneath bit, it's really going to spring up. And if I took it so it looked like it was here, top of where the recess of my eyelids are, when it was wet, when I came to dry it, it would be up here. And I would look like a slaphead. No slapheads, please. Actually, I had one client and it really suited her. It's the only woman I have ever seen with it a nice strip, really short, really severe. She looked $1,000,000. She just had that beautiful soft face, and she liked it short for work and things. And it really suited her. I loved it. The other thing she didn't do was talk to me, which was quite nice, because she used to be able to concentrate. Right, I've got my little next section down now. So I'm going to bring it down and see if I can see it. I struggle looking in the mirror because I'm as blind as a bat without my glasses. Right. You can just see a faint little line under there, which is where you've just nibbled. Now this looks about 3/8 of an inch off here. And you'd think, when you saw it to start with, you'd think, crikey, that needs an inch off it. Well, this just goes to prove it doesn't. And you're much better off just taking that 3/8 off. Right, so you bring in the side, having a look to see where those bits are. Oh, that was nearly me. Told you can't see. And the other side, just to get the length. And then we're going to do a tiny bit of layering, not a lot, because Nikki, you tell me off. Right, I can just see my line there. There's a very faint line. You see it in there? That tiny little curve. You see where it is? There. Got it? That's where I'm going in. Tiny smidgen again. And once again, it still looks too long. I can assure you it's not going to be. Right, we're going to layer it now. I'm going to do the centre section first. I'm going to keep it a nice fine line down here. And then the rest come out sideways. Okay? They call it an apple pie section. So you can envisage a pie, like a pie chart at school, that sort of thing. So we're going in, we're bringing it up. Can you see? I've just got to have a look. Right. I've let the front fall. That's my front line. That's my baseline. And all I want to do is take a tiny amount of weight off the fringe so that this baseline can sit without being too heavy. And this will have the ability just to softly move sideways. You know, when you put a round brush on it, give it a quick blast. It'll just be really soft. Do you know? My eyesight's rubbish. Can't see a thing. It's a good job I know where my fingers are. Right, I'm going to go in. I'm going to draw it all up. See if you can see. It's quite good looking in here. I've got a tiny bit there. And then I'm just going to cut into it like that. Now, I want to take a little bit more of the weight out. These scissors are really, really fine. They are like embroidery scissors, really. And all I'm going to use is the absolute tips. And what I want to create are little layers within the layers. So you've got a section of hair like this. And then some is going to be that length. Some's going to be this length. Some's going to be this length. It's something you can do, you see, when you do somebody else's with your razor. Really difficult to do that yourself. So it's just literally the tips. So you want to take a section like you would if you were doing your layer. Very gently comb it. So it's as wide as it can be in your fingers. And then, I don't know if I can do this with these hands now. I haven't done this for years. There we go. tiny. You can hear it. You don't want to see it. You just want to hear 1 or 2 little bits. And there are just a few pieces. And that's enough, you know. And you might think, it's still too long. So, I got bits all over my face. I put my lippy on so I'd look beautiful. And now I'm heating up. Okay, let's give it a dump. I haven't got the lotion in here because this is no longer my salon. This is now my sewing room. What a shit. I had to give up the salon for a sewing room. As most of you can understand, that's hell, isn't it? This is going to be a bit noisy, so I'll back off a bit. Because I don't know what it's going to sound like your end. Oh, when you dry it, when you put your lotion on, pretend that was my lotion. Give it a good rub in at the roots, because it's the roots that are going to give you the lift. And the same when you're blow drying it. Do the majority of it, if you can, upside down. And it's actually a lot easier than trying to stretch up, because I know that's difficult. So upside down, give it a real good blast at your roots, and that way it'll activate your blow dry lotion or your mousse, whatever it is, just rub it in, and then it will give you that lift, which will help your blow dry stay in for a lot longer. Here we go. No lotion on it, so it's not quite Kendod. We're fine, we're fine. I'm going to put a clip in. And to give it the lift I want at the front, I'm going to use a round brush and I'm going to blow dry it over. If you blow dry it down and up, what you're doing is flattening it. So it's got no base, it's got no foundations to sit on. So even if you like your hair going right back, do all around, always, under first, and it will give that beautiful softness that your hairdresser gets. That's if you've got that sort of shape. Here we go, here we go. Now, right, see it's got the bones on it. See how much shorter it is now. Now, if I'd have taken 1/2 inch off there, I would have walked around for the next 6 weeks looking surprised. And now we can bring it so we can let it back again. Let's just give the rest a blast because it's actually still wet a bit. Do you remember when the Cure were in fashion and they had to have all those hairstyles that were scrunched and right out? I used to love doing those. And that's all you do, you rub your hair, scrunch it, and it'll give you loads and loads of lift. Oh, I can see names now. Hey, Tommy, how you doing, hon? Alison. Hello, David. Amanda. Sarah! I used to cut Sarah. She got all grown up and started having colours and everything. She's been petrified. This brush is a heat retaining brush, it's metal. And so when you heat it up, curl it round, put a little bit of pressure on it, It actually helps keep the curling. It's almost like heated rollers or tongs or something like that. And that, now, you might agree, looks a lot shorter than it did when it was wet. So this is why you don't cut it so it looks right when it's actually wet, because you will look surprised for 6 weeks. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching me cut my fringe. Lots of love to you all. Oh, I have really fine hair too. It can be a bonus, you know, because it always looks silky soft, and people with really curly hair, it feels more coarse. The reason your blow dries and everything don't stay in, the molecular, well, the structure of fine hair, on thicker hair, the cuticle is about 10%. But on really fine hair, you've got 40% of your hair all the way around, which is cuticle. So you haven't got that strength of the medulla and things like that, because it's nearly all cuticle, nearly half of it. But it always looks shiny. Oh, thank you, Alison. Thanks. So it's nice having fine hair. Don't knock it. It's lovely. It does look nice and soft and doesn't take as long to dry. I can tell you that much. It's much easier to dry it. Despite, no, I haven't got any lotion on there. I've got no hairspray or anything. And it's behaving now, and it's not too short. So if you do it and you're not quite right on your levels, just do that thing I showed you and just get it. And it's really good to do it when it's dry. Rather than cut it all off again, just put tiny, tiny little snips in like this. It's almost like not cutting it. So just, there is some there. It's just like taking tiny, tiny bits out. And if you do that and it lifts it all up, it will stop it looking crooked. And then it'll just tide you over till you get to your professional hairdresser. You can only do this about 4 times, and then it really does need a revamp. So don't think I'm showing you how to ditch your hairdresser, because I'm not, because I'm not going to either. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all again soon. Goodbye, everybody. Lots of love. Oh, there we go. And